Good evening, people. Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday evening. We've got an absolutely massive show to bring you guys today. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. So on the show tonight, we are going to be talking about the Mason Greenwood situation. There's some more updates coming out around that one. And it's going into absolute chaos, to be honest with you. It really, really is. But we will jump into that in a little bit. We've got a bit of an update on Harry Maguire as well, which is definitely interesting and has shocked me. It really, really has. We will be talking about that. We'll be talking about Johnny Evans and whether we think he should get a new contract. Also talking a little bit about Sofian Amrabat. What else have we got? We've got a bit of an update on Pellistri, Benjamin Pavard, Rafael Varane, qatar as well, all sorts to get into. So do make sure you get involved in the comment section. I do try and make the show as interactive as possible. Right, let's start off with Harry Maguire then. So obviously anybody who watched the show earlier or who's already seen Erik ten Hag's press conference will know that Erik was of course asked about Harry Maguire and what was going to happen with him. And Erik ten Hag's response was he was happy he was staying and that he would be a part of the squad, which I know caused a lot of upset in the fan base. Everyone said, why is he saying that? He should say he doesn't want him and all the rest of it. But, you know, when you actually break it down, of course, he has to back his player. He does. Anyway, we've had a bit of an update coming out in the last 10 or so minutes. So apparently, this is confirmed by Samuel Luckhurst, who of course writes for the Manchester Evening News. Harry Maguire is not in the matchday squad for the game against Tottenham tomorrow. He has not travelled with the rest of the team. We don't believe he's injured. There's been no talk of him being injured, but he is not on the bus going to London for the game against Tottenham tomorrow. I mean, what do we think of that? Let me know in the comments section. Is this them trying to push him out of the club? Obviously, Erik ten Hag was asked about injuries earlier on today in the press conference, and he talked about Ahmad, Højlund, or, you know, all the people we know who to be injured. There was no mention of Harry Maguire whatsoever. The photos have now come out of all the players leaving Carrington, getting on the bus, going to Tottenham, and there is some positive news. Well, most of you will probably think the Harry Maguire one's positive news, but Lisandro Martinez is in the travelling squad, so it does look like Martinez will feature tomorrow against Tottenham, which is obviously great news. Really, really happy about that. Obviously, there was a bit of a concern around a potential ankle injury after coming off at halftime against Wolves on Monday. But the thing which is more interesting, obviously that's great about Martinez, amazing, so happy he's available for tomorrow. But the fact that Maguire is not in the bus and he's not in the squad whatsoever, I think something's happening. It must be. Why would they not put him in the squad? Erik ten Hag's come out earlier on today saying he's happy with him, he's happy that he's staying. And if you saw Erik ten Hag's face when he was asked the questions about Harry Maguire, he looked absolutely furious. He did not look like a happy man. He did not whatsoever. Obviously, I watched the video. I watched it whilst it was live, and he looked absolutely livid. He was saying all of these things, but his face was telling me something completely different. He was saying, oh, I'm happy and all the rest of it, but he looked so angry. And then, the journalist asked him, oh, what does Harry Maguire have to do to get into the team? And he just said, he knows what he has to do. But his face, honestly, I can't do the face because I'm not angry. But you can imagine someone looking really angry. He wasn't happy. And then we get this news coming out that he's not in part of the squad whatsoever. And we don't believe it's anything to do with an injury. Hopefully, I'm hoping for both Harry Maguire's sake, the club's sake, and Erik ten Hag's sake that there is something going on here and that he is pushing him out of the club. Because if he did the same, what he did to Ronaldo, if he did what he did to David De Gea, he tells us one thing in the press conferences and then behind the scenes he's doing something else. I think that's exactly what's going on here. I really, really do. You know, I'm not saying that Erik ten Hag's a liar, but he has said conflicting information about David De Gea and Cristiano Ronaldo, hasn't he, in the past? So him saying he's happy about Maguire whilst looking like he's going to beat someone up, you know, he looked furious. He looked so angry. It was a giveaway. It was. He wasn't there like, oh yeah, Harry Maguire, great. Honestly, he looked so upset. And David Moyes has also been speaking about Harry Maguire. He says, we did make an offer for Harry Maguire. Just at the end, we weren't able to take it any further. So this came out about an hour or so ago. David Moyes was obviously speaking ahead of their next Premier League game. And it goes on to say that West Ham manager has spoken about the club's transfer business, including their now stalled move for Manchester United defender Harry Maguire. So this is coming out from The Athletic. They're not using the word collapse or cancelled. They're using the word stalled. So I think there's still hope here. I do. Maybe he's injured. Maybe. But I think that would have been spoke about in the press conference earlier. We obviously will keep you updated on that one. As soon as we get a bit of an update on what's exactly going on with Harry Maguire, we will, of course, bring that to you. But do let me know in the comment section how you're feeling about this story. Do you think this is Erik ten Hag pushing him out of the club? Do you think this is just a way to finally show Harry Maguire, but you're not the captain, you're the fifth choice centre-back behind Johnny Evans and Luke Shaw, you need to go? I think that's what's happening. It has to be. And if it is, that'll be another sign of Erik ten Hag's ruthlessness. It will be. He gets rid of Ronaldo. He gets rid of De Gea. People question those decisions. If he keeps Harry Maguire, people are going to question that one for sure. To get rid of the best player ever, well, in my lifetime, Cristiano Ronaldo, but to keep Harry Maguire, that's questionable, isn't it? So I think something's going on. I have my full faith in Erik ten Hag. He is the man for the job. His ruthlessness has completely shocked me over the last 12 months. And I think that's what he's doing. He's telling us one thing in the press conferences because we know he doesn't like the press anyway. And behind the scenes, he's pushing him out of the club. Let's hope this happens. And on the back of that as well, and I think this is interesting. A lot of you earlier on today were really, really annoyed about this. You were saying, oh, the levels have dropped. People on Twitter were saying we're a joke and all the rest of it in relation to Manchester United are apparently in talks to give Johnny Evans a new contract until the end of this season. Now, I understand Johnny Evans isn't Kim Min-jae. He isn't Benjamin Pavard. He isn't of that level, of course. He's 35 years of age. He's past his best. But if he's going to be the fifth choice centre-back in place of Harry Maguire, I have zero issues with that whatsoever. I really, really do not. If the money is an issue because of Harry Maguire wanting all of this money to be paid off, and Erik ten Hag sitting there saying, well, if we get rid of Maguire, we're not going to have the funds to go and buy a replacement at this point in time, I have zero problems with that whatsoever. I would happily let Harry Maguire go and keep Johnny Evans for the rest of this season if that's an option. No issue whatsoever. And then next season or in January, when hopefully we have new owners or we have our new budget, we go and buy a world-class centre-back. No issue with that whatsoever. Let me know in the comments section though, guys. Would you be happy with that scenario if Harry Maguire leaves now and Johnny Evans gets this new contract? It does look like Johnny Evans will get the contract though, just to be very, very clear. Erik ten Hag said the following thing. He said, when he was asked about Johnny Evans, he said, in this moment, he is not under contract, obviously because his temporary contract is expired. But we are talking, we will see, we are in talks and we will have news when we bring it. So there are clearly negotiations going on between Manchester United and Johnny Evans. We know that Erik ten Hag likes Johnny Evans. He was impressed with what he showed in training. I totally appreciate that Johnny Evans wouldn't get it. Manchester City wouldn't do this. Arsenal wouldn't do this. But if this is a way of getting rid of Harry Maguire and protecting ourselves a little bit, I have zero problems with it whatsoever. And obviously I trust Erik ten Hag. If he thinks that Johnny Evans can do what Harry Maguire was doing, I trust him. He's going to be the fifth choice centre-back at the end of the day, behind Luke Shaw. It's not really that much responsibility, is it? And worst case scenario, say let's think of doom scenario. Say Lisandro Martinez and Rafael Varane both get injured and are out for the whole season, right? You then have Luke Shaw and Lindelof as your two first choice centre-backs. You have Johnny Evans as the backup and you bring someone through from the youth academy. That's not the end of the world, is it? Obviously, Dalot can play at left back, so he could play where Luke Shaw was. You've got Malacia, you've got Alvaro Fernandez, you've got even Brandon Williams. We have options in those defensive areas. So for me, it's 100% yes. Do let me know in the comment section what you think about this one. Would you be happy for Johnny Evans to stay if it meant Harry Maguire left the club? It's a yes from me. And I would use the Harry Maguire money to go and get a striker. That would be my priority now. I'd go and get Taremi. I'd go and get Marcus Leonardo. I'd go and get anybody we can within the money that we receive from Harry Maguire after we've given him his payoff, which is supposedly around £10 million. But let me know your thoughts on that one. As always, I do look forward to seeing what you guys say. So Erik ten Hag was also asked about new signings, which I thought was really, really interesting. He was asked if there's going to be any further incomings at the club in the last 2 weeks of the window. And Erik ten Hag said, of course, we are Manchester United. Any opportunity and we will strike in the last 2 weeks. So Erik ten Hag is desperate for new players. We know this. We know he wants another midfielder. We know he wants another striker. And we know he wants another centre-back. Most likely Benjamin Pavard. We do have a bit of an update on Benjamin Pavard to bring you in a minute. But yeah. We all know we're screaming out for another striker, we're screaming out for another midfielder, and we're screaming out for another centre-back. So I'm glad that Erik ten Hag said that we are still in the market, we are still looking for players, and that we will strike on any opportunities in the next couple of weeks, because that is positive. Now, in relation to Benjamin Pavard, we did bring you the story earlier on today that apparently Inter Milan have now submitted a bid of €25 million for Benjamin Pavard, which is so cheap. That is cheap, isn't it? 25 million euros is about 20 million pounds, give or take. Apparently, Bayern are asking for 35, which is around 30 million pounds, which is quite a lot. It's a little bit, obviously, it's about 10 million more. Whether or not we'll enter the race again now, I don't think we will personally. I think that if Harry Maguire goes, they'll give Johnny Evans a new deal, and then in January we'll go and get another centre-back. I think that's probably the most likely option here. I can't see us entering a bidding war with Inter Milan for Benjamin Pavard. Maybe we will, maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're heavily leading the race. And apparently Arsenal are also in talks as well. Obviously, Jurrien Timber has done his ACL, so will be out for around probably a month or so minimum. I think it's his ACL, isn't it? I think an ACL is 2 to 3 months, isn't it, actually? So, yeah, he's going to be out for a while anyway, Jurrien Timber. And apparently, as a result of this, Arsenal are also interested in signing Benjamin Pavard. Anthony says, has the 1 year deal been given to Johnny Evans, or are we still where we were a fortnight ago? As I just said, Johnny Evans hasn't got the contract yet. He's got his current deal is expired, so he's technically not a Manchester United player anymore at this moment in time. I think he's still training with the players, but at the moment he's not able to play in any games. So Manchester United are at the moment negotiating this new deal with him, which will see him till the end of the season. Big ups to everybody who's watching. We've got over 900 people watching this evening. Please do smash a like on the video, and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're only about 20 subscribers away from 13,700. So let's see if we can hit that by the end of the video. Please subscribe. Apparently Timber's out for 7 months. Wow. There you go. Crazy. Thank you Lumen for bringing that into the chat. Now, let's move over to Sofyan Amrabat, the one that's driving everybody crazy. Fabrizio Romano was talking about Amrabat earlier on today, and he has confirmed that Sofyan Amrabat is still waiting for Manchester United. He's still giving us the priority, and apparently he's been waiting since June. So Sofyan Amrabat obviously was approached by Manchester United. Do you want to come? Yes, I'd love to come. And since then, he's waited. He said no to other clubs, and it's been since June, apparently. That's what Fabrizio Romano is reporting today. We've got to go and get this bid in for him now. I think it will be after this weekend, I do. I hope we go and beat Tottenham tomorrow, but you know for a fact, if we don't beat Tottenham tomorrow, the Glazers, John Murtough, Richard Arnold, they will react. If we don't beat Tottenham tomorrow, there will be signings. I guarantee it. This time next week, if we've lost to Tottenham, I reckon we'll have signed 1, maybe 2 players. There will be a reactionary thing to it. I hope we go and absolutely batter Tottenham, and I never would want my team to lose just to sign players, because I think that's stupid. I think we should be able to sign players without losing matches, but you know what they're like, and that is definitely what will happen. I'm just going to run through the squad for tomorrow's game. Obviously, the big news is that Harry Maguire is not in the squad for the match tomorrow, and he is not believed to be injured. So make of that what you will. Obviously, we spoke about that a little bit earlier on. So some of the confirmed names are Onana, Henderson, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Lindelof, Martinez, which is obviously great. He is not injured. McTominay, Mason Mount, Eriksen, Fernandes, Anthony, Rashford, Sancho, Martial. So we've got a pretty strong squad there. Obviously, really, really good that Anthony Martial is part of the squad as well, because I think we will need him. Obviously, he played a behind-the-scenes game against Everton last week, so hopefully Anthony Martial gets some minutes in his legs. Hopefully we get to see a couple of goals from him, because it's about time, isn't it? It's about time Anthony Martial showed us a little bit of, not love, but you know what I mean. He gave us a little bit back, because we've been very, very patient with him, you know. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's talk a little bit about Mason Greenwood then. There's been a lot of news coming out today, a lot, and it's getting a bit nasty already. It really, really is. So the main story, which I thought was interesting, okay, and this is crazy. Apparently people at Manchester United, this is coming out from The Athletic. So they say some staff members have discussed resigning in the event that Manchester United continue to pursue the path laid out by Richard Arnold by bringing back Mason Greenwood, while others have considered coordinated action, with some staff even exploring striking. So there's absolute crisis going on at Manchester United now. People are not happy within the club that Mason Greenwood is supposedly going to be brought back. It goes on to say that senior Manchester United executives held multiple intense meetings with staff after The Athletic reported on Wednesday that some employees feel ashamed by the club's decision to bring back Mason Greenwood. So, as I said to you many, many weeks ago, when you asked me for my opinion on this situation, I said, you know what? I'm not going to comment again on my personal beliefs around Mason Greenwood, because we've already spoke about that. I've already told you. But in relation to football, I think it's going to divide. I said it would divide the fan base. I wasn't expecting Manchester United staff to go on strike, even people to resign. Like, that just shows the level of divide that this story is causing. It really, really is. And the one thing I will say is, if Manchester United had just made a decision months ago, this probably wouldn't have happened. The fact that they've dragged it out for so long, the fact that the Athletic are leaking stories saying that Richard Arnold's going to bring him back, that's what's causing the problem here. You know, I'm sure that people would be unhappy if Mason Greenwood come back. I get that, as in people at the club. I completely understand that, and I completely respect their opinion. But the reason why these people must be getting so frustrated is to find out from the Athletic, which isn't even, you know, to be told by a media website that somebody's coming back to the club before you've even been told. Like, that would drive you absolutely crazy, wouldn't it? It would. And it's just completely disrespectful way of going about it. The story also goes on to say that the Manchester United staff expect an announcement on Mason Greenwood's future before the end of this month. So within the next 1 to 2 weeks, we will get an update on whether he's going to be here or not. You know what? I honestly think what's going to happen now is that he'll be loaned out. I think he's going to be loaned out for a season. I think that there's too much noise around this situation now. And I know people in the chat are going to say, bring him back. I get that. You have your opinion. I respect other people's opinions. I'm not going to shoot your opinions down. But I think bringing him back now would be a massive, massive problem. We're not even talking about football now. We're talking about people going on strike. We're talking about people from the club resigning. We're talking about, you know, all of this craziness that's apparently going on behind the scenes at this moment in time, which is only going to unsettle Erik ten Hag and the players. You know, if you've got people walking out of Carrington, the staff, and all the rest of it, like, it's not a good look. It really, really isn't. But on the flip side of that, anybody who plays FIFA, some of you might not, apparently Mason Greenwood has just been re-added to the EA Sports FC database ahead of the new FIFA. Obviously, it's called EA Sports FC or something now. So that's released in a couple of weeks. And apparently Mason Greenwood has been re-added to that game. Obviously, he's not been in the game since all of this stuff kind of came out, whenever it was. Was it 18 months ago? I can't remember exactly, but he was removed from FIFA, but he has now apparently just been re-added. He's not on the current FIFA, to be very clear. It's going to be on this new EA FC, whatever it's called. So there are things happening behind the scenes which make us believe that he is coming back. You know, whether that's going to be as a Manchester United player, whether that's going to be on loan, we will obviously have to wait and see. Yeah, and this bit was absolutely mad. It says Manchester United plans to bring back Mason Greenwood was so advanced, they have detailed the type of training shots they would take of him and how they would be filtered to the public. And they've also made a plan of how Erik ten Hag should answer any questions about Mason Greenwood. So they've literally made a plan of briefing Erik ten Hag on what he has to say when he's asked about him when he comes back. I mean, that's mad, isn't it? What pictures are going to look like, you know, what the kind of media profile is going to be, what the propaganda is going to be, and all the rest of it. And then another bit on this same story says that the reinstatement of Mason Greenwood is creating questions in the Manchester United dressing room. The players would have liked to have had a say in the decision. The feeling of unease is intense. So again, another person behind the scenes wants to have a say in it. Very, very strange. I don't really see why the players should have a say. It should be up to Richard Arnold. It should be up to the Glazers. They're the ones who own the club. They should make the decision, and they should stand by that decision. Whatever the decision is, they need to own it. They can't be blaming it on the women's team. They can't be saying, oh, well, somebody said it's okay. Like, I'm not here for that. They need to own it, and they need to get on with it. And then the story reiterates again that Erik ten Hag and John Murtough are both in support and encourage the return of Mason Greenwood. So he does have the support of the executives, of the higher-ups, or whatever you want to call them, the top people at Manchester United. Obviously, the Glazers aren't really part of this decision, I doubt, because, you know, that's why they pay John Murtough and Richard Arnold. They don't want to be having to make these types of decisions. That would be absolutely ridiculous, wouldn't it? And then the story also goes on to say that the plan also included the possibility of Mason Greenwood himself doing an extended interview in a few months' time once he has bedded back into the club. And they're not sure whether that will be on Manchester United TV or somewhere else. It's an absolutely mental situation. It really, really is. And it's one that's probably the most crazy thing I've ever experienced in my life as a Manchester United fan. Obviously, we've got the takeover going on at the same time, which is also mad. But this topic is so divisive. It really is. There's so many people with different opinions. There's so many people who want to argue about it, who want to think that their opinion's better than others. And that's something that I'm not going to do on this channel. I'm not going to I'm not going to put pressure on you if you know if your opinion's different to mine. I'm not going to say that your opinion's wrong and I'm right, because that's just simply not what this channel's for. I think the club just need to make a decision. The club need to make a decision, and they need to give us all of the stuff around why they've made this decision. Okay, whether that needs to be an interview with Richard Arnold and John Murtagh, whether we need an interview with Mason Greenwood, we just need that to come out now, because it's just putting a really, really sour taste in my mouth at the moment. So yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens with that one. But do let me know in the comments section how you're feeling about this situation. The headline is behind the scenes is in crisis. People are planning on resigning. People are saying they might go on strike. This is people who work for the club. This isn't random fans. This is actual people within Manchester United. And this is all coming out from The Athletic again today, who, fair play to them, they've completely thrown Manchester United under the bus over the last couple of days, because Manchester United were trying to be very, very hush-hush about this situation. And they've been completely thrown under the bus. So let's move on to something else, though, because it is a little bit of a toxic situation, and I try my best to bring you the news without going too far in depth into it. But yeah, do get your opinions in, and yeah, just please be respectful about it. Right, let's move on to this one. Now, this completely shocked me earlier on. It really, really did. So there's a story coming out from two different outlets today saying that apparently Saudi Arabian side Al Ittihad have contacted Rafael Varane's representatives to try and persuade him to join and go to Saudi Arabia this season. It's the same club that Kante and Benzema play at. Absolutely mental. The story does go on to say, though, but at the moment, Rafael Varane is not interested in going. That's mad, isn't it? If they try and take Rafael Varane from us, he's only 30 years of age. He's got 2 years left on his deal. Maybe next year you entertain something like that. If Saudi Arabia come knocking with £50 million, maybe you sell him to Saudi. But I would be gutted if Varane went this year. Let me know in the comments section how you feel about this one. You know that Saudi Arabia have been making moves, so I would not be surprised about anything. They've just got Neymar, they've got Benzema, they've got Ronaldo. Like, nothing would surprise me with Saudi Arabia. Obviously, as I said, it's the same club where Benzema and N'Golo Kante play. Obviously, they're trying to convince him to come. How much would it take for you to be happy with Rafael Varane leaving the club this summer? Let me know in the comments section. For me, I think we need 50, 60 million minimum, maybe more. I would say 60 million. You need to be able to go and buy a world-class player in his position immediately. And I think that's going to cost you 60 million plus. I'm talking somebody on the level of Gvardiol, who's just gone to Manchester City. And what did he cost? 80 million? So yeah, for me, it's a definite no to selling Rafael Varane. But I did want to bring this story to this community. I did want to see what you all thought about it. Obviously, we're all hoping that they take Harry Maguire, but unfortunately, it looks like they want Rafael Varane. Probably our best centre-back, arguably level with Martinez. Why can't Manchester United just say to them, you know what? You can't have Varane, but we've got this other player who we think you like. His name's Harry Maguire. He doesn't need to prove himself. And you can have him. You can have him for 50 million. How about that? I mean, obviously, I'm joking. They're never going to buy Harry Maguire, are they? But yeah, let me know in the comments section how much you think you would need in order to entertain this interest from Saudi Arabia for Rafael Varane. I'm saying 60 million minimum, even to start the conversation. And even then, I'd be a little bit unsure about it. Unless there was a guaranteed replacement, I would probably say, I'm not too sure about this. Yeah. Somebody in the chat saying, what about Greenwood going to Saudi? I mean, you never know in football, do you? 1 year loan to Saudi Arabia? Reinvent himself, you know, get back to playing football? Potentially. Right, let's move on to something else, though. So, obviously, we have been talking a lot about Scott McTominay on the channel over the last couple of days, and we've been talking about the option of once qatar goes to Manchester City, West Ham will come back in for Scott McTominay. Now, there is a bit of bad news around this situation, and it's very bad news. It's especially bad news for Paquetá. So apparently Manchester City's move for Lucas Paquetá is now on hold due to FA and FIFA betting investigation. It goes on to say the investigation is about bets placed in Paquetá's homeland of Brazil. Paquetá says he has not placed any bets and is said to be shocked by the report. So the deal for Paquetá to Manchester City has collapsed at this moment in time. Fabrizio Romano has said the transfer of Lucas Paquetá to Manchester City is about to collapse. So this is all to do with something to do with betting. Obviously, at this stage, it's all allegations, but obviously we saw what happened to Ivan Toney. That was a complete mess, wasn't it? I don't know what this means for Scott McTominay. I don't. I think it probably means the deal won't happen. If they can't sell Qatar, then I don't see how they're going to afford to bring in McTominay for the amount of money we'd want anyway. You know, we want 40 to 45 million pounds, and we're not going to get that because obviously they've already signed a couple of people. They're about to sign Mohamed Kudus by the looks of things. So yeah, I think the McTominay one, very, very frustrating, but it looks like he will not be going to West Ham purely because Qatar to Manchester City looks like it's collapsed. All right, let's keep things moving though on the show this evening. Let's talk a little bit about... If everybody who's just joined in the last couple of minutes can smash a like and subscribe, by the way, please, that would be really, really appreciated. We're on the road to 14,000 subscribers, so let's see how quickly we can hit that. Please do subscribe. It doesn't cost any money. It's completely free. Do get involved. Sean says, do you think with Pellistri signing a new contract and going out on loan, it means we're making space for Mason Greenwood to come back into the squad eventually? You know what, Sean? I think that's exactly what we were trying to do. But I think all of this outrage, people threatening strikes, people saying they're going to resign, I think it's made the whole situation a lot more complicated. And you know what? It's all because of this article by The Athletic. The Athletic have thrown Manchester United under the bus, you know? They got some information from someone at the club saying that they're going to bring Mason Greenwood back, and they put it out there, which is fine. They're journalists. That's what they should do. But that's just completely thrown Manchester United under the bus. And now it means that all of these people in the top jobs have got an even bigger decision to make because they can see how upset some people are within the club, some people within the fan base are about the Mason Greenwood situation. So yeah, I do agree with you, Sean, that originally the plan was to bring him back and maybe, you know, Pellistri goes out on loan. Now I would be keeping Pellistri 100%. We saw how weak our front line looked on Monday. We definitely need Pellistri. He is in the squad, by the way, to play Tottenham tomorrow. Pellistri is there. The only people who aren't there, just to remind you, is Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire's not in the squad for the game against Tottenham tomorrow. There is a story coming out this afternoon, though, saying that apparently clubs in the Premier League have approached Manchester United for a loan offer for Pellistri. Wolves, Bournemouth, Luton and Burnley have all registered interest in Pellistri. Now, if Mason's not coming back and Ahmad's injured, I keep Pellistri 100%. We need him. We need the squad depth. If Mason's coming back, maybe then you let Pellistri go. Any of those clubs, I think, would be a solid move for him. You know, that's a Premier League experience. Wolves, yeah, great. Bournemouth, great. Luton, great. Burnley, great. So at this moment in time, I'm keeping Pellistri, but we do have to wait and see what happens with Mason Greenwood, because if he comes back, as Sean said in the chat earlier, he will most likely be getting some game time on that right side of midfield, won't he? I will read out some of your questions as well in the second half of the show. So if you have any questions, put the letter Q in front of your message and I will read out as many as I can before the show ends. Jonathan says, can Maguire turn it round? No, Maguire's done. Maguire's done for us. Obviously, I'm not going to say, never say never, but I just don't think Erik ten Hag's going to give Harry Maguire the chance, which I think is the right thing. I don't think he deserves it. The fact that Luke Shaw's ahead of him in the pecking order, that just sums it up. The fact that Johnny Evans is about to be given a new contract, that just sums it up. They clearly have no faith in Harry Maguire any longer. They clearly do not want him at the club. And no matter what Erik ten Hag says in the press conference, I can read right through you. All you have to do is read Erik ten Hag's facial expressions to know what he really thinks about Harry Maguire. So I don't personally think at Manchester United he has any way of redemption. But I think if he goes to West Ham, I think he'll do really well. I think he'll suit their system and I think he'll get in the England squad and I wish him all the best. So that's what I hope happens for him. Lamin says, Kieran, by the look of things, you prefer an attack more than a centre-back or a CDM. Well, no, I think we need a CDM and a striker. Those are the two priority positions. I don't think we need to replace Harry Maguire. I think Luke Shaw's good enough as fourth choice centre-back, and I think Johnny Evans is fine as fifth choice centre-back. So before the end of the window, the two essential signings for me is a centre defensive midfielder, whether that be Amrabat or Gravenberch, somebody. Okay, we need a centre defensive midfielder. There's no argument about that. And we also 110% need another striker, because think about all the strikers we've had over the last years, right? We had Falcao and Ronaldo at the same time. Like, Falcao and Ronaldo at the same time. Now all we have is an injured Rasmus Højlund who hasn't even kicked a ball yet. We need another striker. 110%. Yeah. Acid Red Devil says, how is it possible Greenwood can return when he hasn't even seen a minute of football for over a year and a half? You know what? That is exactly what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. When people have been spamming the chat saying, bring him back, he has to come back, you know, he's going to do all of these amazing things for us. Like, do we all really think that Mason Greenwood's going to come back and be scoring goals immediately? Somebody in the chat probably knows this better than me. I don't know how long it takes to get from match fitness, but if you haven't played any professional football for a year and a half, how long do we think it will actually take somebody to get back to the level to be able to play in the Premier League? I reckon at least a couple of months, surely. I don't know the answer to this question. So if there's anybody in the chat who has more experience in kind of match fitness and analyzes those types of things, do let me know in the comment section, because I'm genuinely interested. Obviously, this community is for everybody. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm this almighty being who has all of this wealth of information. I just like Manchester United and talk about it, and you guys get involved. So if there is anybody in this community who has a good idea on how long it will actually take Mason Greenwood to get back to match fitness, please do let me know, because for me, I think it's going to be at least 1 to 2 months, at least, maybe longer. Somebody says, could you do a segment on your show called Eric Ten Hag's Best Lies? You know what? I do actually like that. I really like that. You can make a drama about it, couldn't you? We could do it as like Emmerdale or Coronation Street, whoever's in the UK. Do it as a weekly episode where, we'll have a think about that. People are saying 2 months. Some people are saying 3 months, 6 months, 6 months. Yeah, I mean, most people are saying like 2 to 6 months. That sounds a bit realistic. Somebody's saying 6 minimum. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I do, but it is something that I've feared for quite some time. Yeah, it is something I feared for quite some time, because I just thought, how is he going to come back? And people are expecting him to score goals immediately. I'd be surprised if he even plays this season, just purely based on fitness. Just a quick one as well on Bayern Munich. So apparently Benjamin Pavard is not in the squad for the game tonight. Obviously, it's Harry Kane's debut. They're playing against Werder Bremen tonight in the Bundesliga, and Benjamin Pavard is not in the squad. Inter Milan have just submitted a new bid of 35 million euros, including add-ons, in the last couple of minutes. That's been reported by Florian Plettenberg, the Sky Sports journalist over in Germany. And it says that Bayern Munich still are asking for 40 million euros plus add-ons. How much is that? 35 million pounds. That is a lot, isn't it? That is a hell of a lot of money. Right, I'm going to read out some more of your questions. Where are we? Right, where are your questions? Let's have a look what we've got tonight. Some people are saying it will take him 5 to 6 weeks. I don't know the answer to this question, so do keep getting your answers in the comment section and let me know. Somebody says, what's your name again? My name's Kieran. Hello. Anthony says, how can anybody who can contribute to getting the Glazers out decide to campaign for Greenwood out or resign? Great level of hypocrisy. Well, I mean, it's not really the same, is it? Come on. Like, Mason Greenwood and the Glazers, it's not really the same debate, is it? Like, I get it from a fan's perspective. I get what you're saying, but you know, if these staff members protest against the Glazers, they'll just get sacked. I don't think they can sack people over, you know, upset around the Mason Greenwood situation. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the you know, employment law and all the rest of it, but I don't think it's as black and white as, you know, we should all be screaming at the screen, why is the dinner lady at Manchester United not striking against the Glazers? They all like the Glazers, don't they? I think that's what I'm sure I've read that somewhere before, that, you know, the dinner ladies and all the rest of it, all the people who work at Carrington, you know, that's what we've been told anyway. Whether that's true or not, who knows? Right, let's read out a couple more of your questions. Somebody says, do you think West Ham can resurrect the Harry Maguire deal? Yeah, I do. The thing you have to remember with West Ham is they haven't signed a replacement yet. They haven't bought anybody. So the deal isn't completely dead in the water. The deal is on hold. David Moyes said that in his press conference earlier on today. He said that ultimately they couldn't get the deal done, blah, blah, blah. And then Sky Sports said that the Athletic said the deal is stalled. Stalled means it's paused. It doesn't mean it's collapsed. It means it's on hold. So I don't know. I don't know. Stranger things have happened in football. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season that Neymar, all of these players had moved to Saudi Arabia, I would have thought you were crazy. If you told me last season that Casemiro would be a Manchester United player, I would have thought you were crazy. So I don't think it's a crazy, theory to say that Harry Maguire to West Ham might reignite, Fred says, are the Glazers selling or staying, Kieran? That's the $1 million question, isn't it? It really, really is. So anybody who missed the show earlier on today, I will touch on it really, really quickly. So there was what was being described as an update. Hence, I'm putting it in, whatever those little things are. From Samuel Luckhurst, who writes for the Manchester Evening News. And he has said, sources say there is a real concern that the Glazers may not sell Manchester United. Okay, well, we heard that 2 months ago. Thank you for that, Samuel Luckhurst. He then goes on to say that a financial source claimed figures connected to the Rain Group, the investment bank firm hired by the Glazers, believe they have been tasked with selling something that isn't really for sale. Again, thank you for the update, but we have heard that 2 months ago. So I honestly just think at this point, all we're waiting for is the final announcement on the sale. I don't think any of these little bits of information that come out really mean anything. One journalist who writes for the Manchester Evening News reporting a story that we've all heard already. Does that really change anything for anybody? You've got other people on Twitter saying that the club's already been sold. It's just all he says, she says. It's one side to the other. There's no real definitive answer at this point. So in my heart, I do think they will sell. I do. But whether it will be now, I don't know. I do think they will sell. My theory is it will be after the transfer window closes. That's what I think's happening. That's just my theory. It's not anything I've heard from anybody. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think. Inverted commas, that's what they're called, where somebody says, right. Irvin says, Kieran, if Varane were to go, who would you bring in? Who would be the number one centre-back or two? So if Varane was to go to Saudi Arabia, obviously Lisandro Martinez would be the permanent left-sided centre-back, as he is already. And I would go and get Antonio Silva from Benfica, or maybe I'd look at someone like Tomori. There are plenty of options out there in the centre-back position. I would go and get somebody young and somebody really, really good. I wouldn't be getting Benjamin Pavard, personally. Somebody says, what do you think of Gravenberch? I think Gravenberch's good. I do. He really excites me. Obviously, he's played under Erik ten Hag before. 20 years of age. He's kind of been pushed out of the team, hasn't he, at Bayern Munich. I definitely think he would be a quality addition to the squad. And the thing that I've always got, my argument with Manchester United is we need to get the players that Erik ten Hag wants. If he wants Ryan Gravenberch, you go and get him. If he wants Sofian Amrabat, you go and get him. I trust Erik ten Hag, but I do like him as a player, and I do think he'll be good for the team. Lumen says, Kieran, why aren't the Qataris coming out in public regarding the sale? Guys, the thing you have to remember is, right, I've told you this so many times on the show, a non-disclosure agreement has been signed by Manchester United, by the Glazers, and by the potential bidders. A non-disclosure agreement is a law-abiding contract which says if either party leaks any information about what's going on, they can be sued. And I'm sure the Glazers would sue them. We know what the Glazers are like. Suing means money. So the reason the Qatar won't come out and say anything is because they're not allowed to. If they had have come out and said something, it probably would have meant that the deal was over. If they'd have come out and said, we're pulling out. They haven't done that. So we've just got to be patient. We have. What else have we got? Somebody says, what do you think of Sergio Ramos? He's available as a free agent. I wouldn't bother with Sergio Ramos. He's been injured. His injury record is absolutely appalling. Obviously, when he was at his prime at Real Madrid, he was the best centre-back in the world, or if not one of the top kind of 2 or 3 centre-backs in the world. Last season at PSG, he missed 33 matches for PSG last season, Sergio Ramos. I would 100% not bother with him. No way. He's just, I don't want to say he's another Phil Jones because that's disrespectful to him. But in the injury record, I think he's definitely past his best. He'll probably go to Saudi Arabia, 37 years of age, missed 34 matches for PSG last season. Definitely not. Definitely not for me. Ivan says, do you think Rasmus is going to play against Arsenal? Yeah, I you know what? I think Rasmus is going to be in the squad for the Nottingham Forest game next week. I'm confident about it. I think he will be. Someone says, if Greenwood's missus is not mad at him, I don't want to go into trying to work out why Greenwood's missus isn't mad at him. That's just I'm not going down that route. Lamtech says, Kieran, how would you rate this transfer window so far? As for me, it's 4 out of 10 because of the lack of outgoings. You know what? I'm not trying to piggyback on your answer, but 4 out of 10 is the same for me. It's been a poor transfer window. It has. Very, very poor. Obviously, Onana's a great signing. Rasmus Højlund could be a great signing. Emphasise the word could. There's no guarantee. Mason Mount, I would say, is 50-50. Some of you are happy about it. Some of you are really annoyed. The ingoings have been okay. Outgoings have been an absolute disgrace. So yeah, 4 out of 10, and maybe that's even being kind. If people like Maguire, McTominay, I mean, the fact that we're still talking about Eric Bailly, he's still being paid by Manchester United. Brandon Williams, you know, Donny van der Beek, we can't even get out on a loan. Dean Henderson's still here. Like, it's a rubbish transfer window. It is. It's one of the worst, I think. And it could have quite easily been one of the best. It really, really could have. Alex says, I think we're working on an unknown midfielder. Otherwise, Amrabat would have been done by now. Possibly. I still think we will get Amrabat, but you never know with Manchester United. You never know. We always seem to throw a surprise signing out every single window. So there is obviously the potential that, you know, maybe someone like Goretzka, someone like that comes out. You never know, do you, in football? Anything can happen. Acid Red Devil says, do you see Amrabat actually coming? Yeah, I think he will. I do. Like, he would have gone somewhere else if there wasn't reassurances from Manchester United. He would have signed for Liverpool. He would have signed for gone to Saudi Arabia. He would have gone to Juventus. He would have, you know, he's had so many different clubs, good clubs as well, Atletico Madrid, all of these respectable clubs wanting to sign him. And the story has always been the same. He's waiting for Manchester United. I do think we'll get the deal over the line. But as I said to you yesterday, my theory is that Manchester United are delaying it because they know that if we sign Amrabat now, tomorrow, every single one of you in this chat is going to be demanding for a striker. Every single one of you is going to be saying, why have we not got a new centre-back? Why is Maguire still here? So by them dragging this out, it buys them time. It does. Somebody says, Kieran, would you play Martinez at CDM if we don't get Amrabat? Just a question. I don't know. Erik ten Hag's never played him at CDM for Manchester United. I know he played there a couple of games at Ajax, but I think, I don't know. Hypothetically, yes. If you want, you know, if that's what Erik ten Hag decides to do, then go for it. But I think Lisandro Martinez is better at left-sided centre-back because that is his primary position. And I don't really want people playing in their secondary position just because we don't have a CDM. Like, it doesn't really make much sense to me. But if that's what has to happen, then that's what has to happen. Right. Right, we've got a couple more minutes left of the show. I will read out a couple more questions before we wrap it up. I'm just seeing if there's any new news. So apparently Casemiro and Antony have just been called up to the Brazilian squad, if anybody cares about that. I think Antony wasn't in the Brazil squad, was he, last time? So fair play to Antony. Irvin says, can you see Onana playing at centre-back? I mean, now we're going down the stupid hole, aren't we? Onana's not going to play as centre-back. I know you're joking, but yeah, probably not. Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It's been an absolutely incredible stream. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined us this evening. We will, of course, be back at 8 a.m. UK time tomorrow. And do remember, we have got the big match tomorrow. We will be doing the watch-along for that game. I'm absolutely buzzing. I want you to get your score predictions in the comment section for the game tomorrow. I'm going for a 2-1 Manchester United win with goals from Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford. We're going to beat them tomorrow. We're going to beat Tottenham. You know, we haven't lost to Tottenham since they've moved to their new stadium. I saw that as a stat earlier. The last 2 times we've played them, we've beat them twice and drawn twice. We haven't lost to them once in their new stadium. So let's keep... The only other team who hasn't lost to them is Liverpool since they've moved stadium. So let's keep up that record. Let's go into the game positive. Let's hope we see a reaction from what was a terrible performance on Monday. And let's hope we absolutely batter them. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched this evening. I will, of course, be back tomorrow. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video and please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you all later. Have a lovely evening, morning, day, wherever you are in the world, and speak soon.